All right, we have our test coming up in a few days about statistics. So grab a paper and do these problems with me. Return this paper and you got yourself 10 points. So first we have students were asked how many books they read last summer. The data is below. We're going to create a dot plot. So our first thing we want to do is set up our dot plot. So we can see people read 0 all the way up to 9. So across the bottom, we're going to put 0 through 9. So fill out your line there. 5, 6. Okay, so here is mine. I did not need a line that big, it looks like. And dot plots are made of dots. So every time we see a number, we are going to mark it on our dot plot. So we have a 1 and a 4. All right, we're marking it off on our list so we make sure we use the right amount. We have a 2 and a 9. 2 zeros. Do those together. And a 2 and then a 3. And then, oh, not a 4. And a 3. And a 4. No, there's our 4. A 1 and a 1. And a 7 and a 5. 7, 5. 1, 0. 8, 0. And 0 there. Then 1, 2, 1. So a 1, a 2, and a 1. So we should, let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we should have 20 numbers total. So we should have 20 dots. Make sure yours has 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we want each dot nice and clear so we know how many there are. So now we're going to use that dot plot and answer a couple questions. So question number 1 says what percent? So as soon as we hear percent, we are setting that up out of 100. So what percent of students read at least 7 books? So we're looking at least 7. So 7's the lowest they could read. So 7 or more. So 3 people read 7 or more books, right? At least. And out of all the people, we already know, we just counted all the dots. There are 20 people. So we do know how to get from 20 to 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 5 times. So if I times by 5 here, we're going to times by 5 here. So our total is 15% of the people read 7 or more books last summer. Our next one, number 2, says what was the greatest number of books read? So we're talking about the greatest number of books, right? Number of books are on the bottom. So our greatest number is 9. Not the most common, right? The most common was 1 book. But one student over here read 9, the greatest number of books. We got to pay attention to greatest goes over, common goes up. And our next one says how many total books were read by all of the students. So we have to put every person's books together. So on our dot plot, these people all read 0 books. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that read 1 book. 2, 4, there's 6 more books. And this person read 3. This person read 4, and 4 makes 8. This person read 5. This person read 7. This person read 8. And this person read 9. So we want to add those all up and put your answer there. So you're going to add 6, 6, 3, 8, 5, 7, 8, and 9. All the books together, put your total there. All right. When you are ready, number 4, we're going to find the mean, median, mode, range, outlier. So our very first job is we want to write those out in a line. So we have 4 zeros. 0. And then we have 6 ones. And then 3 2s. And a 3. And 2 4s. and a 5 and a 7 and an 8 and a 9. So when we find the mean, right, we want to put those all together. We're trying to make everybody have the same. So first we have to put them all together, which we just did on our last question. We know that they read these books here, so we can take our answer from here. So we'll double check ourselves. So that should have been 52 total books. And we're going to divide that by how many people read books, which we know was 20 total people. So we're going to take 52 and divide that by 20 here. And I know it can't go in there perfect, so I'm just going to start with that decimal and 0. So 20 can't go into 5, but it goes into 52 times, which is 40. There's 12 left over. Bring down the 0. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. That is 6 times. So if everybody had to read the same amount and still read 52 books, every person would need to read 2.6 books. So not very many because we had a lot of people that didn't read a lot. All right, our median, that's where we find the middle. So we are going to look for the middle number when they're put in order. We know there's 20 numbers, so we're going to come to 2 in the middle. So we can rainbow these over, so we should have 10 on each side. So we're matching. Right, it's okay if this rainbow down here touches because we're just trying to connect our numbers. And we got another 1, another 1, another 1, another 1. So in the middle here we have 1 and 2. So the middle of 1 and 2 is 1.5. Right, we can also add those together to get 3 and divide that by 2. Half of 3 is 1.5. So our median, middle, 1.5, right? That seems pretty accurate. Lots of people read 1, 2 books there. All right, our mode, it's not the biggest, right? It's the one that happens the most. The most common, again, is 1 book. Now our range is going to tell us how far they're spread out. Somebody read 9 books. It's going from the biggest all the way down to the smallest. Somebody read 9 books. We had some people read 0 books. So the difference in how they're spread out is 9 books. And an outlier, one that's out far away, we don't really have one that doesn't fit in, that isn't part of the group, that seems different. So we have no outlier. Okay, now we're going to make a histogram. So Mrs. Richards asked her students their shoe size. The data is below. We're going to create this histogram. So go ahead and just draw your lines for the 2 axes, the bottom and the side. So you can see these people, there are 6 people that have this shoe size, 21 that are a 5 or a 5.5, 6, 6.5. We can see how many people they already did. So they already put the data into the chart for us. So our first thing we need to do is we need to take these intervals and we need to write them across the bottom. So here's this one. Every single one needs its own space. If you want to write sideways so it doesn't go on so long, that's great. So get your intervals there. And then our frequency. So I noticed that if we go from 4 up to 42. I don't want to count by ones. That's going to be really big. 2s is even kind of iffy. So I chose to count by 5s. So every 5. It wasn't too hard to count by. I just had to go up a few numbers there. So we're going to set that up. So now, once your chart is set up, we're going to make our bars. Remember, the bars have to touch. We're making those rectangular pieces, and it needs to fit over each one. I don't want to end my chart here and still have numbers over here. Every one needs to go over its own space. So this one, we're going to go up to 6. So I'm just looking. Here's about 6, and right, it's covering that 4.5 area. So our next one is 21. So looking here, so just above 20, and I want these to touch and go into that next section here, covering right to the middle there. Now we have 42. So we're looking up here. So going across. Okay, so now we can, I'm going to need to adjust mine a tiny bit and make that touch. There we go. Okay. Our 7 to 7.5 is 35 people. So right on our 35 and over. Then 8 and 8.5 have 17 people. So about in the middle there. And then 9 to 9.5 have 9 people. So just below our 10. And then 10 to 10.5 is 4 people. So just below our 5. So there we have our histogram, our bars for every interval. And I'm so sorry if it's hard to hear. There is chaos happening in the hall right now. All right, so once our histogram is made, we are going to answer a couple questions here. So just make sure each bar matches to the category so you can tell which one goes with which. So we have our data here. So ask what's the most common, right? We're looking for the one that goes up the highest. It has the highest frequency. So ours is, we have 6 to 6.5 is our most common. And then it says how many students, so we're counting up the students that wear at least an 8. So at least, so 8 or higher. So all of these students, might be easier to come back to our frequency so we know exact numbers. So all we need to do is add up those numbers here to get that answer of how many wear 8 or higher. So 17 plus 9 plus 4 will tell us all of those students there. All right, so when you have that done, bring it back to school and we'll get you your points.